Hi, I'm Major General Bob Livingston, the Adjutant General for the state of South Carolina. We are rapidly approaching Veterans Day, the day that we honor those who serve us through our military, those who serve something bigger than themselves, and we honor their families. It's very fitting we're here at Memorial Park at the Vietnam Memorial. Vietnam, the war where people served when it wasn't popular to serve. Korea, the forgotten war. World War II, the big war. Desert Storm, the war on terror, and many other smaller wars where our veterans have stepped up to care for the people of this great country.
Veterans Day is a day of pride and gratitude. Pride in the men and women who stepped forth to serve this country, and gratitude for the job they've done for us.
In my heart for my fellow veterans, this is a day of celebration. It's a day of remembrance for all the men and women that have served in the armed forces since this country was born through the present day. I would hope for all my fellow veterans that our citizens will remember that service, they'll honor it. Perhaps they'll go to a memorial service. Perhaps they'll join a service organization that helps veterans, both retired and those that might be in the Guard and Reserve.
Well, when I think about 2.5 centuries of men and women who have defended our country and volunteered to do that, laid down their lives, protected our borders, I think that the least each one of us can do is to give back to our community and our nation. And it may not seem like a great act of patriotism to go down to the food bank and serve a homeless person, but it is, because it creates a civil society. It creates the society that our veterans volunteered to protect us to preserve.
The feeling, everybody has a different feeling when they give, when you volunteer. And you know, volunteerism means something to someone, it means something to somebody else. I think the students today are given a lot. I know my daughter's given a lot, and I'm sure young people today feel like they deserve a lot or something, but I think it's important that we instill that into students, this sense of volunteerism, especially involved with veterans. I mean, you know, we call the World War II generation our greatest generation. I think every generation of heroes, of people who have served, is a great generation, and they've all done what they've had to do and what they've been ordered to do to make sure that I can teach and that you can video. I think that every teacher should go out there and capture those stories.
Veterans Day is a day of recognition and honoring those who have served in the past to the present, and it also paves the way for members who want to serve in the future.
I can sum up Veterans Day in 3 words: remembrance, reflection, and recognition. Remembrance, we remember the veterans that have protected the many freedoms that we enjoy. We especially remember the ones that have died in service to the country. Reflection, when we reflect on the many, many freedoms that we have: the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, the right to assemble peacefully, and the right for every citizen 18 years of age and older to vote. But we also recognize our veterans on Veterans Day and thank them for what they do for our country, and also their families for the service that they give in supporting their military service member.
My fellow veterans, I would ask to have the mindset of continuing to serve, even though we may not still be wearing the uniform on a daily basis. Our kids, the next greatest generation, needs role models, and there are many different ways we can serve as those role models and encourage them to think beyond themselves, find ways that they can serve in their communities, hospitals, schools, different organizations, and thereby making our nation stronger and just being very cognizant and appreciative of the values and principles upon which our nation is founded.
Pretty much why I joined the Army was for the excitement of it and basically to serve my country. So knowing that the mission depends on me makes me want to work even harder, go at it even better than anybody else. So for me, it's just a big part of who I am, so it just makes me feel good to know that I'm doing something and I can do it better than anybody else.
In history, it's important to learn about people that made sacrifices. It's easy to take things for granted, and it's easy to forget about things that are going on overseas if it's not right here in our community. But
Our nation was founded on people who made sacrifices, and we take time on days like 9/11 and Memorial Day and Veterans Day to honor these sacrifices that they made and the people who continue to serve. And if our country is going to remain great and a world power, then we're going to have to continue to have a whole generation of students volunteering to get out there and make our nation great.
Well, I think it's important not to think about yourself on Veterans Day, but to think about all of the other veterans who have served and continue to serve the country throughout the world. I think that too often we don't think about the sacrifice that anyone gives when they put forth themselves to the last measure. We basically write a blank check to the American public saying we are willing to give our lives in defense of this country. And so for Veterans Day, I think that anyone who has served is a hero, someone who deserves our utmost appreciation and respect.
On behalf of all the military families, the Livingston family would like to thank our veterans and their families.
Thank you, South Carolina.
I happened to be the first American in Berlin, along with the Russian troops, that had just accepted the surrender of a corps of German soldiers, 15,000 troops, hundreds of vehicles. So that was quite an experience. When I took the Lieutenant General in to my commanding officer and said, "Colonel, this general has surrendered his corps to me." He said, "His what?" I said, "His corps." He said, "Boris, where?" He said, "Where are they?" I said, "They're 45 miles on the other side of the Elbe River." He said, "What the hell were you doing over there? You know you had orders not to cross the river." I said, "You want me to take it back?" He said, "No, we'll keep it." Well, Veterans Day is not just another holiday, a holiday that you take off from work and have a day of rest. It's a day that you say thank you to the veterans who have liberated you, who have given you peace and given you a quality of life that you wouldn't have otherwise. There's no question about it. You know, we've had a couple of unpopular wars. And a lot of students resisted it, young people resisted it. But when the stakes are high, when your freedom is at stake, they want to fight and they want to prove themselves, and they did in World War II, and I believe under the same circumstances, they would do it again.
On Veterans Day this year, I hope you'll take time to reflect as you're sitting at your desk today on what a veteran means to you. The men and women that have sacrificed for our countries, they come home and they either choose a career to continue in the military or they choose a career in our civilian world. I want you to know that your country stands behind you and what you do, and your civilian employers are out there. They want to hire your veterans. They'll take care of you just like you've taken care of our country.
While we are privileged to have veterans and their families all the way back to World War II to honor, we want to remember our military and its contributions all the way back to its origins in 1636. This is also a time to think about how you can serve. You can serve this great nation in so many ways. You don't have to be a member of the military. Just figure out a way to improve your community, your school, your place of work, your state, or your nation. I hope you have a meaningful Veterans Day. Take some time out with your parents, with your teachers, with your fellow students. Study what our great military has done since the beginning of its history. Remember those who have served. Remember those who have died. And remember their families. May God bless you, may God bless this great state of South Carolina, and may God bless America.